When the sun rose the next morning, Gretel woke up to see that Mina, along with Ben, Hansel, had already woken, so Gretel headed towards the stable. She grabbed her crossbow along with the bag of coins inside. Mina was grooming Secret, while Hansel got the cart hooked up onto the horse. Mina turned around to notice that Gretel was awake. "Look who's up! You're usually up before us," Mina said to Gretel. Where's Ben?" Gretel asked. "He's helping out in town with Edward today, so we're all going to see Muriel," Hansel replied. "There we go. The cart is now on the horse. Now let's get going." "Perfect, Hansel. Can I tell you and Mina something?" Gretel asked. "Promise not to tell anyone?" "We won't, Gretel. What is it?" Mina replied with a question to Gretel. "I've told Ben that I wasn't interested in dating him, even though he did ask on the note the other day, but I don't see him as more than friends. I forgot to tell you that last night," Gretel said. "I hope Ben wasn't too upset, because I know that he liked you," Mina replied. "Well, he was sad, but he understood that I wasn't into him, and the same way he thought of me," Gretel said. "But there's something you and Hansel need to know, but the public cannot know about this for a while. Muriel has asked me out on a girls' night. I don't know if it's a date." "Well, you've been asked out by Muriel?" Muriel, Mina asked, surprised at Gretel. She was then asked out by another girl. "Congratulations, Gretel, but are you bisexual?" "Yes, and to tell you the truth, Mina and Bro, I do like men and women, but I'm not sure which I'm more attracted to," Gretel admitted it. "Well, maybe you'll see it someday, Gretel. It takes time," Mina reassured Gretel. "Besides, I'm willing to give Muriel a chance." As the trio got into their horse and cart and headed towards the market, they stopped there so Gretel could pick up a few things. She wanted Muriel to start off with a couple of decent meals. Since Muriel's gotta stop eating children, she's gonna have to start trying new foods that she's never tried before. And Gretel wouldn't want to see her friend go hungry, which is why Gretel made stops on the way. She first was stopped at the bakery and bought some bread as well as some chocolate chip cookies, which were Muriel's favorite kind of cookies. Then Gretel stopped at the dairy market to pick up milk, butter, cheese, and even cream. Gretel then picked up some fruits and vegetables at the market. Then she reached the butcher and got some meat. Gretel bought some sausage, ham, weenies, and even chicken. Once Gretel had finished shopping, she jumped into the cart and as the trio headed towards the forest. Secret walked down the path where Gretel usually takes to see Muriel. Mina sat with Hansel, and Gretel was driving the horse and cart. "Will Muriel like us both when we become friends with us?" Hansel asked. "I'm sure she will. It will take her time, though," Gretel replied. "When I first started meeting her, she was hostile towards me, but shortly after that, she started to warm up to me on becoming my friend." "Well, that's good. I'll keep Mina close if she goes hostile," Hansel said, holding Mina close to him. "If Gretel says that Muriel is changing is true, I'm sure things will be okay," Mina replied. "Although I will have to admit, I am excited to have this baby." "Well, I can't wait to be an aunt, and it's going to be great," Gretel said. "Having a niece or nephew will be great, as long as he or she takes after the father," Gretel chuckled with a laugh after that. "I think he or she will look like either mom or dad," Hansel betted it. "You want to bet, bro?" Gretel teased as everyone started laughing. When they got to the mountains, Muriel was waiting outside for Gretel. She was getting used to Gretel visiting her all the time, and it became part of her routine. And Gretel was bringing Hansel and Mina today. As the horse and cart approached Muriel's entrance to her hideout, they parked as Gretel jumped off of the cart. She greeted Muriel as the witch ran up to the sheriff and gave her a hug. It was unusual of Muriel to do that, but since Gretel was now her friend, she didn't care even though if it wasn't characteristic of her or not to do that. As Hansel and Mina jumped off the cart, Muriel welcomed Hansel and Gretel to Mina to the hideout. She even led everyone inside to her now redecorated hideout. It didn't look like a witch's lair anymore. It looked like a cave-like home for anyone living in a cave. And Muriel offered Hansel and Mina tea that Gretel had brought a few days ago. "The cave looks like home," Mina said. "Yep, I helped Muriel with it," Gretel replied. As soon as Muriel got herself a cup of tea and then handed one for Hansel and Gretel, she sat down. "I know I've got some explaining to do, but Muriel was then cut off when Hansel raised his hand. Gretel told me and Mina about you wanting to change, and we know the whole story from what Diablo said. Hansel interrupted. You told them? Muriel said, turning her attention to Gretel. I'm not mad, Gretel. I just didn't know that you did tell them. Like, I did not expect that. I was afraid it wasn't gonna go well with that. The reason why I told my brother is because I trust him, and I didn't tell Ben yet, and I don't plan to. Not now, anyway. And Mina already knows the truth about your past, Gretel explained. And I wanted to apologize to Hansel and Mina for the events happened 3 months ago. I acted evil because I was acting like a spoiled brat, Muriel sighed sadly. I had a rough childhood, and ever since my mother passed, all I had left was Diablo, my brother that I adored, and when my father became a drinker, we didn't get along. Did he hit you? Mina asked. Because that could be the case if he did. No, he did not hit me, but he threatened to do so. But he wouldn't be the case saying that if my brother was around. My father was a bully to me. He even wished that I was a boy when I was born. He didn't want a girl. He just pretended that he was happy the fact that I was his daughter, Muriel continued. When I was 13, my father and I argued a lot, and my brother was my comfort zone as he was there for me. His father was a heavy drinker, Gretel said to Mina, just so Mina understood where Muriel was coming from. And when I was 17, I met this boy I really loved. Muriel's eyes began to well up with tears as her skin changed color from normal to white with cracks on it. Gretel knew that she was getting emotional. And when I turned 18, was living with him, Sheriff Beringer shot my boyfriend. I was looking for him with Diablo, and we searched every day and night, but we couldn't find him until I saw that he was burned. And that son of a gun sheriff destroyed my heart. Muriel hadn't been the same since then. She's been emotional because of her past, which explains her depression, anger, and she regrets being evil during the past of the events 3 months ago, Gretel said to Mina and Hansel. It has all made sense now. So this was why Muriel was evil, and Muriel was at her breaking point. It was just me and my brother. When he had Brooklyn with his girlfriend, I was jealous of him, and that's why we had her falling out. Muriel began to cry. It was breaking her heart remembering the past. Gretel pulled Muriel into a hug as the witch cried with tears and pain in the sheriff's arms. Hansel and Mina both very felt sorry for Muriel, and if they hadn't known about Muriel's past, they would have suggested negotiating with her better, rather than killing her like last time. As Gretel whispered soft things into Muriel's ear, she rubbed her back and held her close. Hansel and Mina were soon getting the hints that Gretel was bisexual. There was something between her and Muriel. I'm sorry you went through a lot, Muriel, but that doesn't explain why you stabbed me, though, Mina said. Muriel looked up at Mina and sniffed and sighed. I stabbed you out of evil. I wasn't thinking rationally, Muriel sniffled. When we get angry, we sometimes do things we don't think rationally while we're angry. Plus, I didn't even know you were pregnant. Oh, I was such a stupid fool, I was. We didn't know that Mina was pregnant, and it was far too early to tell at the time, Mina said, comforting the evil witch. Plus, you didn't realize the evil deeds you've done is in the past, but we're here to help change that. That's why you're listening to what I have to say, Gretel said, as the evil witch calmed down. She looked at Mina, who had a look of sorrow in her eyes. Remembering what happened 3 months ago hit her like a bullet. She really wished she never became evil. I would have made myself at home. Muriel showed Mina and Hansel all around her hideout, which was redecorated. As Muriel was doing that, Gretel brought the food down that she had brought from the market and placed them onto the table. Muriel had organized the area for the kitchen, and she had a small trench of cold water, is where Gretel placed the milk, and then saw that Muriel had a little fireplace not far from the kitchen. As Muriel returned to the kitchen, she was amazed at the food that Gretel brought, and was wondering why Gretel had a cauldron over the fire, adding some water inside. I'm thinking about making rabbit stew, and we can have salad with it, Gretel said. The sound of the meal was such a great idea to Muriel that Mina offered to help Gretel, and Muriel wanted to help too, but she hesitated. You can help, Muriel, Mina said to the evil witch. I would, but what if I F something up? Muriel replied. Hey, language, Mina reminded Muriel. Sorry, just never cooked very much before the events that happened 3 months ago, Muriel replied. Well, we can help you with that, Muriel, Gretel reassured Muriel as the girls were planning the stew. Hansel was surprised that Muriel was showing some improvement from 3 months ago. She also had no idea what Gretel did, but she was helping Muriel change her behavior. Hansel didn't expect Muriel to change that quickly, but now that Muriel was trusting Gretel, the witch hunter was returning her trust to Muriel. As the girls were making rabbit stew, Hansel walked outside the hideout and looked around. Muriel hadn't done any destruction since Gretel started visiting her every day, as she wondered what the people of Augsburg would say, since they feared Muriel from 3 months ago. And now that she was changing, maybe the townspeople will warm up to the idea. That was in Hansel's mind, and he didn't want to see his sister getting hurt, or Muriel getting hurt for that matter. As Hansel sat down on a rock and began to think about how Augsburg would react to Muriel changing, will they fear at first? That was the question that Hansel had no idea what to do. Maybe they may not show fear around Muriel. That will only be the case if Gretel could make that announcement to the people of Augsburg. Who knows what may happen? Maybe Muriel will get accepted as a good witch for once Gretel knows that she's fully changed. Hansel, dinner! Mina called out. As Hansel heard his girlfriend calling his name, Hansel headed inside the hideout. Just as the stew was being served, as everyone was digging into rabbit stew, Gretel looked over to see Muriel slipping her stew. Muriel, Gretel said sternly. Muriel looked up at Gretel with a stern look, and she could see that she was a messy eater, and can't be too messy with guests invited. Sorry, Muriel said. Then she started to eat her stew properly. I see. You're changing Muriel's behavior around. How was that going on? Mina asked. Well, it was tricky at first, but she was doing very well, Gretel replied. She's still got some stuff to learn, but she'll learn over time. As everyone was eating their rabbit stew, Muriel felt that if she was at home, with Gretel, Mina, and Hansel in the hideout, she felt loved. Something that her ice-cold heart never felt 3 months ago. Hope you're liking the soup we made, Mina said to Muriel. I do. I can't even remember the last time I had rabbit stew. It just needs one more thing. Muriel smiled. Then she pulled a bag out and put a pinch of chili powder into her bowl. And add taste, the effects of the chili powder made the rabbit stew a bit of spice into it, making it taste a bit hot, but not too hot. Was that chili powder? Hansel asked. Yes, it's pretty good in stew, Muriel replied. As everyone finished eating, Muriel was helping Gretel, Hansel, and Mina with the dishes. Changing wasn't as bad as Muriel thought it was, and he was slowly began to trust Hansel and Mina. They were Gretel's family after all, and Gretel wanted to help be a part of that family. As Gretel, Hansel, and Mina were leaving, Muriel thanked them for the rabbit stew and even spending time with them for the day. As Gretel waved goodbye, Muriel smiled as she waved goodbye back, and it wasn't long until Gretel and her family were on the path of the forest. Gretel was excited to hang out with Muriel on Friday, which was at least 2 days from now. Happy that you and Muriel became friends. I never thought that would be impossible. Hansel said to Gretel. I'm starting to think Diablo was right. She's not as bad as we may think she was. Once you get to know her, but it may take her a while for her to trust us, Mina added. Muriel's planning to pick me up on Friday night around 5 p.m., Gretel said. Ed, I have no idea where we're going, but whatever her plans are, we're gonna be there. Nice, Gretel. She asked you out, Hansel teased. Shut up, Gretel chuckled. I would need help finding something suitable for Friday. I am no expert on fashion, Gretel, but you know your brother, Hansel said. Mina, would you be able to help my sister with that? Of course I will, Hansel. I will have to go there to get maternity clothes right anyway. As soon as the baby gets bigger in my belly, I'll need bigger clothes for that, Mina replied, agreeing that she'll help Gretel pick out something right for her to hang out with Muriel. The next day was Thursday, and Mina and Gretel were out in Augsburg as they were heading for the clothes market to find decent wear for Friday. When they got there, Mina and Gretel took a look at the clothes. I need something just right, not too tight and not too loose. It has to be just right, Gretel said to Mina. Then Mina found a dress. How about this white dress? Mina asked. Well, it's okay, but if we're eating it and it's a messy dinner, I wouldn't want any stains on it, Gretel replied. Then she tried on the dress that was brown, but it was too tight. Then Mina found a light blue dress, but when Gretel tried it on, It was too loose and it looked really baggy on her. I think I found something, Mina said to Gretel. She pulled out a pink dress for Gretel to see, but as Gretel shook her head, it was too lacy. When Mina showed Gretel a few more dresses, but only for Gretel to shake her head no. Then Mina pulled out a navy blue dress with feathers on it, and it was something Gretel really liked. She nodded her head and tried on the dress. As Gretel walked out, the dress was not too tight or too loose. It was just right, and Gretel loved the dress. It's perfect, Mina. It's just the dress for me, Gretel said. All right, that's the dress, Mina said. She even paid for the dress, which surprised Gretel. She wasn't expecting Mina to buy the dress for her, but Gretel was happy that Mina was doing her a favor. As Gretel headed back home, she hung the dress in front of the wardrobe as a reminder of Friday. Gretel wondered if Muriel liked her as more than just a friend, as Gretel was starting to feel something between her and Muriel, and that was something that was waiting for them. Gretel couldn't wait for Friday, as she'll be spending the morning and evening with her brother, and then going hunting together, as Gretel hadn't spent too much time with her brother. As Gretel woke up on Friday, she got dressed and she and Hansel went out into the forest to do some hunting. They had hunted for deer, elk, beaver, and sometimes raccoons and badgers. As they were hunting, Gretel saw a deer not far from where she and Hansel were, and as she got her crossbow ready and aimed the gun at the deer, as a scream was then heard out of nowhere. The deer was scared off as Gretel looked around for the sound. Then she heard the scream was from a child. Gretel looked at Hansel, and she motioned him to follow her. They ran towards the direction where they heard screaming. When they ran upwards towards the scream, they saw Brooklyn in the tree, the source of the screaming. Hansel and Gretel also saw that Brooklyn was screaming. A pack of wolves were surrounding her. Even though Brooklyn was in the tree, she didn't own a broomstick yet, so she couldn't get away easily. It's Brooklyn, but where's Diablo? Hansel asked, before being cut off by his sister. I don't know, but let's gun these bastards down, Gretel exclaimed as she and Hansel started to gun down the pack of wolves. As they were gunning down the wolves, Gretel ran up to Brooklyn and held her close as she grabbed her from the tree. Hansel killed the last wolf with his hunting knife. As Brooklyn cried in Gretel's arms, the sheriff whispered soft things to the little witch. As Brooklyn wished for sure that the wolves were dead, she looked up at Gretel and then at her brother had just saved her from danger. You okay, Brooklyn? Gretel asked as Brooklyn nodded. Gretel was relieved to see that Brooklyn was okay. Where's your father? Daddy and I were picking berries. I ran off into the woods and then got chased by wolves, and I climbed onto this tree, Brooklyn replied. You're very lucky that Aunt Gretel and I were out. Otherwise you could have been eaten, Hansel said. Just then Diablo showed up. He was on his broomstick and turned to see Brooklyn in Gretel's arms. Your daughter ran off, but she was about to be eaten by wolves, Gretel explained to Diablo, then handed Diablo his daughter. My brother and I heard her scream while we were hunting, and we just showed up just in time. Thank you, Gretel. I was looking for Brooklyn all over the forest, Diablo replied. Then she turned his attention to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, I'm so glad you're safe. I was so worried. Diablo embraced Brooklyn in a hug. Don't you ever run off and scare Daddy like that again. As Brooklyn was put down by Diablo, he thanked Hansel and Gretel for being there to save Brooklyn on time. If they had gotten to Brooklyn any later, she would have been a pack of wolves' lunch already. Diablo had already asked Gretel if Muriel had met Mina and Hansel yet, and Gretel explained that the visit went well. Is Muriel doing okay? Asked Diablo. Yes, in fact she's doing okay. I'll be seeing her tonight as she asked me out, Gretel said. Nice. And is she picking you up from Augsburg? Diablo asked. If she is, I hope my sister doesn't get caught by anyone. She's gonna pick me up in my house, but she'll get to me for the balcony of my bedroom, Gretel replied. And don't worry, it will be time for me to make the announcement. Once I know she's fully changed her ways, everyone will know. Does Ben know about Muriel's back? Diablo asked again. And did you also answer his question about being his girlfriend? I did answer Ben's question, and he said that I was sad that I rejected him, Gretel answered. He understood that I don't see him romantically attractive, but me and him are still friends. Well, that's good. I was hoping Ben would be good understanding about that, Diablo said. When Muriel was asking a guy to be his boyfriend, and in her teen years, she was always rejected by them, mainly because she was a witch, and boys made fun of her pale skin and black cracks on them, and she was rejected by boys she liked, and she had breakdowns over it. Oh dear God, Gretel sighed. Muriel then had a lot of been through a lot more than Gretel thought. Whenever Muriel had her breakdowns, I was there to calm her down. Sometimes she could be fussy, but with years of experience with my sister, I know her breaking points, and since Gretel knows them, she can trust her. Diablo continued. Yeah, and I really hope my night out with Muriel goes well, Gretel said. Hey Diablo, if you need anyone to babysit Brooklyn, just let us know. Hansel and I are happy to do so. Well, thank you, Gretel. So, Hansel, will it be okay if you could babysit Brooklyn tonight? Diablo asked. I have a lot of stuff to do, and I won't be back till late at night. Sure, I could babysit her, Hansel replied. Hopefully Ben can keep an eye on my girlfriend. I'm sure that won't be a problem for Ben, and I'm sure my night out with Muriel will go smoothly, Gretel reassured her brother.